How's it going, guys? Jake here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Weather Storms and Tornadoes mod, and it adds a bunch of crazy weather and realistic things and danger as well, which is one of the reasons why I love it. So let's hop right in. So this mod adds several new machines as well as some cool realistic effects that happen in nature with weather. Let's go ahead and open this chest, and as you can see, there's only a few. Now you're going to need to make this weather item first, as it's used in almost all these other recipes, and to make it you take 4 iron ingots, 2 redstone, and a gold. Now the first thing you're going to make with this is a tornado sensor. Now to make this you take 4 iron ingots, 2 redstone, and one of those weather items to get this block. Now this is going to allow you to make a bunch of these other machines, such as the weather siren. To make this you're going to take 4 iron ingots, 4 redstone, and one of those tornado sensors. And this will make a noise when there's a tornado within its range. Then you have the redstone version of it, and to make that you're going to take 4 iron ingots, 2 redstone, 2 levers, and then another tornado sensor. And this will make the sound that a regular siren makes when you have redstone applied to it. Then we have this weather deflector, and to make this you take 4 iron ingots, 4 redstone, and a weather item. Now this will clear all the weather that is in your localized area, just in case you have a big mansion or something you don't want to get hit by a tornado. Then we have this amazing weather radar, and to make this you're going to take a compass, 4 redstone, and 4 weather items. Now this will allow you to see what storms are in your localized area. Then we have a anemometer, that's how you pronounce that, and to make this you're going to take 6 of those weather items and a redstone. And then we have a Windvane, and you're going to take 5 weather items and redstone as such in a crafting table. And lastly, we have this weather machine. Now to make this, you're going to use 4 weather items, 4 redstone, and a diamond. And now this, as it says, the weather machine, it allows you to change the weather that's next to the machine. I'll show this to you at the end of the mod. And finally, we have a couple of little interesting sand items. To make a placeable sand layer, you're going to take whatever type of sand and surround it by a weather item. You'll get 64 of these. And then you have pocket sand, and now to make this, you're going to take 8 of those placeable sand layers. In a weather item, you'll get 8 of these. Now, a placeable sand layer, it's just like snow. When you set it down, it will, well, place a layer of sand, like such. Then you have pocket sand, and now this doesn't really have a purpose. Just when you press it, it will shoot this nice cloud of sand, and it will blow with the wind. And now that is the same particle that is going to be used in sandstorms, which I'll get to in just a second. But let's start off with this weather siren and the manual one. Now this will make an extremely loud tornado siren sounding noise when there's a tornado in this vicinity. Now it's not going off, that means that we're clear. Now if we go ahead and set this manual down just to give you a taste of what the noise is, well, here we go. So when you hear this noise, you better run to your shelter if you have one of these things set up. So this is the redstone, so if you're just wanting to alert people or whatever, all you need to do is apply a redstone signal for that. Now, these tornado sensors, besides for them being used in crafting recipes, you can place these around a weather siren, and it'll increase the range that tornado siren will pick up any weather activity. So you can get a better warning the more tornado sirens you have. I think it's up to a maximum of 4. And next we have this weather deflector and this weather radar. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the command of weather to storm create rain. Start with that. And now the first thing you'll notice with this rain is that it is not usual. It is a lighter blue, and you can see that they're angling in one way or another. And then in just a second here, as these clouds build up, you'll start seeing these white puddle splashes, basically. There they go. Whenever the rain hits the ground in that area. If I go ahead and set down this weather radar, you'll notice that it tells us that we have a rainstorm that is right next to us, as indicated by that orange mark, which is where this weather radar block is. And now this has to be, it doesn't have to be extremely close, but within like a circle surrounding this orange block for you to be affected by it. So if you see something come your way, you can, this is one of the ways you can see it coming to prepare. And then this weather deflector, if I set it down, it's not going to do anything to this rain or any hail that's happening. What it will do is prevent tornadoes from destroying your house. This, if you right click, it says it's set to the mode to prevent block damage only. If I right click this again, it will kill all thunderstorms and deadlier. If I click it one more time, it will go back to the prevent block damage only. So unfortunately, this will not stop rain, so you're just going to have to deal with it. And now moving on to these last 2 blocks of the anemometer and the Windvane. Now these are just cool little decoration blocks, so you can see with the anemometer there's not that much wind going on right now. And if we set down this wind vane, it will tell us where the wind is blowing and in what direction. Now with all that stuff out of the way, I want to move on not only to this weather machine and to another cool feature that's added in this mod, and that is leaves will fly off of trees when the wind blows. So as you can see how far the leaves are moving, and if the wind is very strong, they will blow even farther away. You can also hear the rustling of the leaves when you're next to the trees. And then, as you've already seen before, the clouds have this different look to them, and they will blow with the wind as well. So just a bunch of cool realistic features that are added in. Now it's time to go over the different storms that there are, and I'll use this weather machine to demonstrate. You can also use that command of weather to storm create whatever the storm you're wanting. If I set this down and right click, it will set it to lightning. I'm also going to set down this radar so you can see the storms that are going on. So with this lightning storm, you'll have dark clouds, you won't really have any wind, and it'll just be rain with some lightning. And now since it is windier, you can see how the rain is moving along with whatever way the wind is blowing. And I quickly hopped over to these snowy mountains, as our setup's right over there, to show you that the snow is also different. It's not in the constant pattern, it has just a bunch of particles floating through the air, and it will also blow with the wind. Now unfortunately this will not add any snow that will stack up. You'll have to use another mod and combine it with this, and as you can see the lightning's going on there. But it does add a little more detail to that snow than normal, which is very nice. Now, as we come back to this weather machine, the thing about it is that as long as it is set to that mode, hello, that was close. As long as it is set to that mode, it will continue that type of storm forever. It will not move. So now we're going to go to the next mode, which is high wind. This is indicated when you have a lightning symbol with a bunch of that hazy gray stuff around it. As you can see, the rain is coming down much faster. You'll start to have some rotation above you, and you'll have those sheets of rain that you have in real life. Whenever there's high wind, it will blow the rain down the streets, etc. So it is much more intense than it was just a moment ago. Now we have one step higher than this before we go to a tornado, and that is hail. Hail is indicated by just this gray cloud type of thing on your radar. Now if you look around, you'll see these kind of ice balls as they drop down. Now these will cause damage if you're standing out in the open, and you can hear them hitting the ground. I'll stop talking for a second. They're very light taps as they hit the ground around us. And now the next cycle on this block is the tornado. So if I go ahead and right click this, I'm going to move away because it will spawn a tornado, F1 tornado. So as you can see, the clouds will spin very violently. It will suck up any animals surrounding it. As you can see the small circle going up in there. Now this is an F1 tornado, so it is the second strongest because there is an EF0 below this. And it will suck up any grass that is down on the ground, as well as any leaves if it moves over the trees. As you can see, this is pretty violent. But we're going to go ahead and destroy this weather machine, otherwise I'll keep going on forever. And we are going to spawn one normally so you can see it moving around, and we're going to start with the good old EF0. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn that, if I can spell. There we go. This is an F0, and now this is not nearly as strong as the F1. All this will do really is remove a little bit of wood from structures as well as some grass. And it takes a little while for it to drop down when you create it normally. And this also doesn't have that circular cone shape. It's just kind of this gray snake necessarily that's going up the clouds, as you can see, as it wasn't as sturdy as the other one, and it has these big curves in it. Also, this rain is pretty annoying because it makes it very hard to see. So you can see it's kind of moving around much more frequently than the EF1, and in the small path it is making, as you can see, it's not sucking up the animals as much, and it's only getting rid of this small amount of grass in its path. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. There we go, stop. As you can see, it was picking up some leaves there. And when the leaves hit the ground, they will come down as blocks once it goes through enough trees and shoots them out. As you can see, when the storm dies down, everything will just stop. Now, sometimes the storm can just stop like this when it's kind of decided that it is done. But with an EF0, if it's coming towards you, it usually will increase, and depending on the biome you are, like with this plains biome, you have a much better chance of tornadoes spawning when you're in this biome. So picking the biome is also very important depending on how much weather you're wanting to receive. So we've already seen with the EF1 with the weather machines, and it's going to be just like the EF0, it moves around and it only will pick up a few more things. So let's move on to the EF2. And I'm going to get out of the circulation right there, as it is a much larger tornado than both the EF1 and the EF0. And it has the cool particle effects of the wind being sucked around, so it just looks very cool. And now this will move much more slowly than both these smaller tornadoes, and this will kind of basically destroy all the wood structures you have. So if your house is built out of stone, it will be safe from this. So if we set down the radar, you can see it. You can also see that the green dot is moving. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the EF5, just because the EF3 and 4 are very similar to the 2, and there's not that much difference besides for it's a little bit bigger, it moves a little bit faster, it does a little bit more damage. And also I'd like some of these things for you to be able to experience when you use this mod. But this EF5 is, well, unbelievably massive, as it will take me quite a while to get out of the circulation so you can see this full picture. In fact, it's so massive, you might not even consider it having like a central cone like the other ones did, because you can see I'm quite a ways away from where I just spawned it, and it's just this big gray haze that's in front of me. And you can already see the blocks falling out of the sky as well as the animals. That's, quite sad. But with this, I'm also going to go ahead and go into game mode 0. Now I could easily die with this, because as you move close to any tornado, it will start to suck you up, as there is a very strong wind, just like it's doing to those blocks and to any creatures. So as I'm getting closer to this, and as the range is hit, there I go. So at first it'll just be like this gentle toss, and depending on how you hit the ground, you won't take any fall damage. But once you get closer to the center, you eventually will get sucked up into the top. I'm going to try to do that right now, even though you should never try to do this if you actually want to live. There I go. So this one is more of like a toss around, which isn't necessarily, accurate from what's in, what's real life. You can also see how big the radius is with how much grass it is taken up. There we go, I'm up in the clouds now. So with an EF1, since it's a much central or much more center located type of funnel, it will happen much faster in shooting you up into the clouds. And I'm tired of being tossed around. There we go. So you can see how much intense of a storm this is. And now there is a completely different type of storm, which are cyclones, and I'll get to those in just a second. But right now, after I clear the storm, I do want to go over sandstorms, which obviously can only happen in a desert, which is right next to us. Now as I'm entering the desert, you can see that the storm is still decaying over there, and just as normal, nothing else changed. You can't have rain in the desert, but we can have sandstorms, and these are awesome. They also are extremely annoying. So they look awesome, but they can they greatly reduce your sight. So let's go ahead and do create sandstorm. And now it will take a little second when it does create, as it spawns basically over the whole desert. Now you have to be in a desert for it to spawn. So after a little while, there it is spawning over here. We have these gray, those pocket sand type clouds that I was talking about before will appear and move across the entire desert. So from a distance, as you can see, this looks cool, but it's already affecting my vision as it is bringing down my sight radius greatly. You can also hear the wind kicking up. And now, the closer you are to it and the more the sand kicks up, as you can see how it greatly reduces your vision. It will also place those stackable sand layers down, as you can see. So this will stack up sand, even though the snow won't stack up with this mod. And now, as you can see, it has a bunch of like the sticks and tumbleweeds flying around. And this is very hard to get out of because you have no idea where you are walking. And once you do get out of it, it still affects your eyes a little bit, and you will be seeing with this type of radius for a decent amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get out of this. There we go, my vision's starting to come back as I'm moving out of the storm. So as you can see, it's just this big gray cloud moving across the desert sand. And now even if, as you saw before, even if you're not in the cloud necessarily, your vision will start to be affected. As you can see how my sight radius is dropping dramatically right there. So I don't want to go through that experience again, so I'm going to stay away from that awesome type of storm. So I'm going to go to the last thing for this mod, and that is the Cyclones. Now these are kind of tornadoes and basic storms combined, as they're not a bunch of central damage, they're more of just a big area of wind. So let's go ahead and create a C0. So as you can see how fast the clouds are spinning above, and it's just a big area or big radius of clouds kind of being sucked into this main zone. So now these will, as you can see, bring about animals as they're sucked closer into the center. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into game mode 0. Now, this will not really affect you that much. If you get super close to the center, which it's moving further that way as these move much faster, you can get tossed around a little bit, but as you can see, those horses weren't even really being sucked up. So a C0 or a Cyclone 0 doesn't do that much to players or animals. It is sucking up some leaves over there. But as you can see, it has a much wider radius than the EF0, as it is just a more nasty type of storm. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that. Let's see, I can do that. So just as I did before, I'm going to skip all the middle type of storms because you've already seen really what's gone over with the F-Zeros, and this is fairly similar to that. But the really cool storm that I do want to show you is the C5 and the Hurricane, which is just after this. Now, I forgot to change game mode, so as you can see, I was sucked immediately up into the air, and I'm going to go ahead and fall back down. So this is almost the monstrous storm you can get, as it is a much faster wind speed than a tornado over a much larger area. So you can see how extremely violent it is. And yeah, I don't think you want to be caught out in the open with this storm chasing after you, as it will move faster than you can run, and it just looks insane. But I'm going to move away a little bit so I can summon a hurricane. But you can tell the storm's coming even if you don't have a tornado siren, because you can see the type of clouds shooting out from the top. You'll be able to see this from a very long ways away. So there, I've moved away a little bit. I've gone to this new forest area. And now, as you've probably already figured, that there's a bunch of sounds that are added to this mod, and one of the ones when a tornado is going through a forest is you'll hear a bunch of the trees or leaves snapping. It's a nice, cool sound effect. It's also very loud. But in this nice area that I've moved to, I am now going to summon basically the ultimate storm, and that is a hurricane. There we go. Now, as you can see, it is summoned. It is much faster than the last one, and this will suck up a bunch of blocks, any type of wood, leaves, or any light blocks, and it will toss them around, as well as players, entities, and all that stuff. You can see some pigs are flying over there, and it is just a monstrous storm. Now, I'm going to, just for the fun of it, change to game mode 0. And now I'm outside of the circulation enough that I'm not really being affected, but this is one of those storms that's strong enough that if I just get a little bit closer, as I'm trying to right here, oh, it's starting to affect my movement already. There it goes. And it will toss me around like nothing. You can see the amount of leaves that are being tossed up and thrown back down. And now if you get stuck in a corner like this, I would recommend you stay there unless you want to go in, as you will not get sucked in to the storm anymore. But if you jump, you will, so be very careful not hitting the space bar. And now, as you can see, it's getting me closer to the center and just kind of tossing me around. So it is just a very strong storm, and also, oh, I can't even jump here right now because I'm being pushed into the side. There we go, moved away. So, as you can see, it's kind of clearing out these trees, and this type of storm, if it is able to build up to a C5, will stick around for quite a long time. And also, if a storm is out in the open, if it turns to a tornado, it has a habit of coming directly at the place where the radar is located or where you are. Now, I think you can change this in the weather config that you can see here up at the top. Wow, I just got a cool achievement. And this will allow you to change a bunch of different things. If you want the effects, if you want it where you want it to happen, which biomes, local biomes, particles, all that type of stuff. You've got advanced. And now that's pretty much it for this mod. It adds some crazy weather. That's just why I love it, because it adds another sense of danger outside of mobs that you can just kill. This is something that you cannot control. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave a like and comment down below any other types of mods you'd like me to review, and I'll see you all in the next video. High five. I don't know if my computer can handle this, but I'm going to summon a lot of these hurricanes. Ooh, it's getting a little laggy there. Oh my gosh. Now, I've never seen this happen personally, this many storms being summoned, but I guess it might be possible. Oh my gosh. This is a little crazy. Let me get out of this.